Today, we're going to be talking about scaling your business with our modern document management system and giving you a live demo of the Anvil workflows. So a little bit about myself, the speaker. I'm the founder and CEO at Anvil. We've been doing this for about 3 years now, and have seen a lot of success. We've helped both run the PPP program with a regional bank in Minnesota, as well as helped a bunch of tech companies build paperwork management solutions faster. And want to jump right into a agenda just so everybody knows what we're doing today. To start, we're going to kind of summarize the paperwork problem. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Anvil workflows. And then the meat of today's webinar is going to be the workflows live demo. Then we're going to have a quick recap followed by a Q&A session. So I know everybody here probably loves paperwork as much as we do. We've been doing this for 3 years. We must have some special love for doing everybody's paperwork, but not really. We're actually here trying to save everybody from the paperwork challenges. And so on the left-hand side, we have some of the things that we see as troublesome with the way paperwork is done today. One, it's time consuming. It's hard to track, endless emails with PDFs and coming into various inboxes. It's really hard to kind of like track down the necessary documents that have been submitted and the information that's been submitted. It's manual. Again, even though most things are done digitally today, you're still manually writing emails, manually sending these emails with PDF attachments, asking your clients, asking your customers to download those documents and fill it out. And then that kind of leads us to the last point, which is it is very error prone. You send these documents out to the customers and clients, and you really don't know how they're going to get filled out. Oftentimes, it gets filled out incorrectly. They're missing pieces of information. They don't read the instructions, or something that I've done many times, which is write my name on the wrong line, thinking that it was supposed to be the line below the label, not the one above it. So just little things like that that cause bottlenecks with paperwork. And Anvil Workflows is really kind of the antithesis of all of this. It's fast, it's mobile first, it's online, it's digital. Everything's super easy to track and manage. The data, the paperwork, everything is automated, and it's error-free. We do a lot of validation on the front end with your customer or client that's providing you the information to make sure that the information being gathered is error-free. And we will definitely kind of show you all this as we go along here today. But first, some definitions. What is an Anvil workflow? An Anvil workflow is a digital first way, so it's online, of gathering the data, which then prepares the documents that need to be prepared, in this case, the existing PDF paperwork, followed by anything that needs to happen after the document is prepared, such as requesting signatures, and then making sure that the data that is captured or captured within Anvil is pushed to where it needs to go. So whether that's your CRM system, whether that's a CSV output Excel spreadsheet, or into your own database, Anvil provides an easy way to do all that and extract all the data. A couple benefits of Anvil is the first one is you can kind of build these fairly complex workflows that exist today, mostly defined by your paperwork process, and you can build these in minutes, and we will demonstrate that on today's call. We have a very simple no-code interface for doing this. Collaborate seamlessly. A nice thing about Anvil workflows is oftentimes there's PDFs that need to be filled out by multiple parties, whether it's a husband and wife, maybe it's two business owners, or maybe it's even a client and the client relationship manager. Oftentimes these documents are filled out collaboratively and then signed at the end. Anvil allows for that situation and helps make it easier to kind of like aggregate the data that needs to be put onto a single PDF. And then on the back end, when you're managing all this data, managing all this paperwork, you can work seamlessly with your team. That's the entire operations team to have full insight into what stage each paperwork process is in, if there's missing data, if you need to reach out to customers. And instead of having this back and forth communication channel, Anvil provides a dashboard for you to kind of easily see all of that information. And then finally, integrations. I think this is the kind of the power of Anvil. Because the data is captured in a digital format to start, and then Anvil provides you with Zapier integrations as well as a robust API. You can really integrate Anvil into your product or into your workflow and process, however you choose, making it extremely flexible. So with that, I am going to jump into the live demo here. And let's hope that the live demo goes smoother than me signing into this webinar. Cool. Let me just pull this up here. Great. So this here is the Anvil kind of dashboard. You'll notice on the left-hand side, we have a couple of things. We have what are called templates. This is a new account that I created for today's webinar or for events. So there aren't any templates here. There's Etch eSign. That's Anvil's e-signature platform, which I will also demonstrate as part of a workflow. And then finally, there's Workflows, which is where we're at right now. Here you'll see you have a search function as well as this Doggo Pets waiver. This is actually a workflow we created for the SaaStr event that happened a couple weeks ago, I believe. Maybe it was last week. Time flies. And we had event conference attendees actually fill out this waiver as kind of a demonstration of how Anvil works before they were allowed to pet the dogs that were at our booth. You can see here, this is kind of the dashboard of all of that information. So going over to all workflows, to create a new workflow for an existing paperwork process, you can simply click Create Workflow and then upload the document that you would like to convert. So I'm going to go grab the document here. And you'll see here, starting on the right-hand side, this is the PDF that I just uploaded. It was a fillable PDF. So all of these boxes are predefined within the PDF. If I open this PDF in any PDF viewer, you would be able to find these boxes and type into it. On the left-hand side, this is the corresponding web form that was automatically generated based on the information that was on this PDF. So you can see here, non-qualified account type. You can see account type is showing up here as a dropdown. This is a radio group. On the left-hand side, it is a dropdown. And then you'll have the name field, which matches over. And then finally, you have a couple of other fields as you scroll down on the page. So first things first, what I typically like to do is go over to the PDF. And then what I'd like to do is clean it up a little bit. This PDF is pretty clean, but we've seen some pretty gnarly PDFs where the boxes are just named random things. They aren't accurately tagged, and that's pretty common for PDFs that we find today. But this one's pretty clean. And you can see here we have this radio group. These squares are all attached to each other as options. I'm scrolling down a little bit. We have this name field, social security number field. So you can see that the field type is social security number. This is a special type of field that allows us to know that to format the information that is put onto this PDF field, as well as know that it needs to be a secure field on the web form. Coming down here to mailing address. Now this is actually a multi-part field. So you see there's the street, the city, state, and zip. But Anvil doesn't know that yet. So the first thing to do is to convert it into an address field. So you can select it from the drop down here. And then it asks you kind of how is this address field set up. So we're going to go select, it's set up with street, city, state, and zip fields. This currently selected field is a street field. And then we're just going to connect the remaining fields. Switching over to the web form, you'll notice that as I scroll down here, there's now an address field called mailing address line 1, which is the name of the first field in that address. The next field down, you'll see it's broken up into separate pieces. And that's because we haven't connected this address field yet. So why don't we go ahead and do that as well. It is, again, select all of the field types. Excuse me. And then if we switch over to the web form, you'll notice now we have 2 address fields. The nice thing about these address fields is it automatically uses Google and the United States Postal Service to validate addresses as people type. Again, this is just one of the things that Anvil does to make sure that the data that is captured is accurate before it goes onto the PDF. So
Hey, Mang-Git, is it possible for you to zoom in just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. How does that look for everybody? Is that a little bit better?
I think it
Cool.
looks much better. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Apologies for that. So I'll go ahead and kind of demonstrate how you would add a new field to this PDF. One common thing we see is either you upload a PDF that doesn't have any fillable fields, so Anvil is unable to pull out the information. Another thing is like maybe it's just missing a field. So let's say we wanted to add a new field here. You simply click and drag, and you can select the type. In this case, let's make it a $. And then we're going to call this Mang-Git's dollar field. And down here you have some format options. You can say you want to show a $ and the cents. A lot of fields have the $ pre-printed onto the form, so you don't need the $. But there's a couple format options. You can have the data be left aligned, center aligned, right aligned. I can even change the color of the font that gets printed in there. So just like that, I've added a field onto the PDF, but you'll notice that it's actually blue. And what this means is that there's no corresponding web form field on the web form that is MG's $ field. You'll notice that there isn't a field here for that. So clicking back over, what I can do is I can add this field to the web form. So add this field to the web form. I'm going to add it on page 1. If I again click over to the web form field and scroll to the bottom, you'll notice that the MG $ field has been added at the bottom here. Now, if I want to remove this field, I can just click the trash button. And on the right-hand side, you'll notice it's not connected again. So there's a little symbol on the top here on the right-hand side that says not connected. I want to go ahead and delete that field just to keep it clean. I have a couple more cleanup steps here that we can do. So I'm going to make sure all of these are address fields. And I just demonstrated something actually without even thinking about it. All of these fields here are you can type into it. So instead of scrolling through the dropdown to find the specific field you're looking for, you can actually just start typing into it and it'll filter for you. So I'm going to street. I'll do this really quickly since this is similar to what we did earlier for all of the other address fields. Do this one as well. State and zip. And then here we have 2 email addresses. It looks like they've already been tagged as email fields, which is great. And then we have we have 2 signature fields. So 2 signers and then also signature dates here. So we will come back to this at the end, but let's switch over to the web form field. web form so we can actually take a look at what the web form looks like. So again, at the top here, this organization is called Anvil Events. That's why it says Anvil Events. Anvil Demo. Let's change the title of this form to say Anvil Webinar Demo 10/7. It changes immediately. You can even add some description language here. And that's just to help your clients or customers who are filling out this form kind of understand what's going on. And now I think the biggest thing I would like to do here is one, I want to change secondary phone to be an optional field, which is just a check mark. Here, this field should actually be associated with primary phone. These are both primary phone. So I just drag. You'll see there's an arrow kind of icon on the left here. Same with this thing here. Make sure I drag that. And this field needs to be optional as well. Coming down here, let's just assume in this case the mailing address and the home address are always the same. You see this a lot on various PDFs where each page of the PDF it asks for a person's name or maybe a ID number. And this is how the pages of a PDF form are kind of tracked as it's being passed through the process. But with Anvil, you really don't need to worry about that. You don't need to ask the person to fill out the same information multiple times on the same form. You only need to ask for it once, and Anvil will automatically put it into all of the correct locations. So what you can do is actually combine fields that are the same within the web form. I'm going to click on this and say combine with another field. And that just compresses it into one field, and it maps to two locations on the PDF. Address. So I'm going to change the label here. Here it's asking if there's an additional owner. So what I'm going to do is create a second page. I want to break this up into two pages so it's not one giant web form. You simply click this plus button and say add page break. And at the top, I can say owner. To navigate between the two pages that you've just created, you can use these arrow buttons at the top here. So I'm just going to click back. Now I'm on the first page. And now what I want to do is add a unconnected web form field. So I'm going to say add input field, not add input field from PDF, but unconnected. So just a random input field. And I'm going to make this a checkbox. And usually I like to just add the box label. Cool. So this checkbox is just saying, hey, check this box if there is an additional owner. So actually, now the nice thing is if I go to the next page here, sorry, this is again the additional owner page. We're on page 2 of 3. I can actually add logic on this page to only show this page if that checkbox has been checked. So I'm going to click on the top header here and add page logic. I'm going to click add condition. And I'm going to say start typing, and it's going to pull up that field that I just created. And if the condition is checked, then this page will be visible. So again, this page will show when this condition is met. Just like that. I've added a additional owner page. Let's scroll down here. Again, I'm going to make this field optional. Move this up. Move this up as well. Make this field optional. Again, I'm going to combine these two fields with these two address fields and change the name. But one kind of cool thing about this address field is I can actually have it give it a default value. Let's assume in most cases these are partners or spouses that are living together. So I can actually add a default value, and I can set the default value to the address that was entered on the previous page. So what that means is as I fill in the first page and get to this page will already have an address filled in, but I can still change it if it's something different. Now, this email address probably needs to go on the first page since it's associated with the first owner. So I'm going to, oh, sorry, click move here, and I'm just going to move it to the first page. Now we have a couple of extra fields here. Though this is the primary account owner name. I'm going to move that to the first page as well. And then I have the additional account owner printed name. So this name is actually the same as this name. So I want to combine them. Going back, do the same with the primary owner. And I probably want this up at the top. Makes more sense at the top here. And I'm going to do the same thing for the second page. One thing to note about these drop downs is you can actually add more options onto this drop down. Now, if the options aren't corresponding to an existing field on the PDF, it won't show up if somebody selects it. So to kind of demonstrate what I mean here, we have, for this drop down, we have individual, custodian, and other. If I click over the PDF, you'll see that there's additional owner, custodian, and other. Now, there's also this additional owner type other field. So I'm going to click back over here and find that. Where is that field? It might be on the previous page. Oh. Additional owner occupation. I do not see it here. Well, why don't we go ahead and just add it? So we're going to add a new one. Other. And I'm going to have this field be conditional on additional owner type equals other. So one really cool thing to note is that if this field isn't visible, then it's obviously optional because there's no way to actually fill it out. But if it is visible, I did not select the optional checkbox here on the left. If it is visible, it will be a required field before the person's able to move on from this page. So just like that, let me go back to the PDF and make sure this is connected properly. Additional owner type other. Great. Okay. Now in this builder view, you have a couple things you can do to test your workflow as you're going through it. So right now I'm in the build mode with this little wrench, but I can go into the play mode or test mode. You can actually play around with this form that you've been working on. You can do this at any point in time. So why don't we go ahead and check this box. Right now you'll notice it's page 1 of 2. If I check this box, it switches to page 1 of 3 because this additional page has shown up. Again, if I select other, this field shows up. So it kind of gives you a nice way to validate the logic that you've been working on. Cool. Going back into preview. So the last thing, and I promised I would get back to this, is I need to add signers for this form. So here it's going to say, hey, this is a signature field. You have a couple of choices for signature fields, but this one's just a plain signature field. And you're going to want to assign a signer to it. In this case, we haven't actually created a signer, so we're going to create a signer. And to create a signer, you need two things. You need the name of the person, and then you also need their email address. And the email address is how we identify this person. And then there's a couple options here. You can ask them to draw their signature. This it creates a box that allows them to kind of scribble their name. Works best on mobile. But if you don't do that, it actually just takes their name and turns it into kind of a cursive version of that name. And then require signer to click each signature. So what this does is it scrolls through the document, finding each signature box, and makes the makes the signer actually click through each of those signature boxes. We're going to leave that on. Now this field is a signature date, so we also need to assign that to a signer as well. And we'll add a second signer in this case, which is additional owner and additional owner email address. Cool. Now, one thing to note is because additional owner is a conditional kind of process, conditional person in this workflow, meaning there's situations where only one person is completing this form, or maybe in the other situation, you have two people where it's the spouse, right? In the situation where there's only one person, this second signature request just gets skipped over. Anvil automatically handles that logic for you. And if there is a spouse, then it automatically makes this signature field a required field. So there's a lot of like kind of nice dynamic things that Anvil does to make this process a little bit easier for you. Cool. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and move over to settings. So again, you can give it a name. You can give the workflow a name. So this one's called Workflow Anvil Demo. We're going to make it more unique to today. Name submissions. What this means is as submissions are coming into your dashboard, what is the title of that submission that's going to be displayed? And in this case, we're going to have it be the name of the person that's filling out this form. Signature settings. This allows you to kind of adjust the email that gets sent out to people when they're asked to sign. You can also change signature provider. We do provide integrations with other signature providers. You will need to pay a separate licensing fee for that signature provider and then connect it to Anvil. Moving down here, start button settings. So when you start a new workflow, what's the action that happens? Does the link get copied, or does it open a new tab and starts the workflow? So we're just going to keep it as launch web form in new tab. And then down here are kind of our security settings. These are really important, and they come with every workflow. This is available even on free tier workflows. What this does is there's two things here. Workflow locking means you can have this workflow stop accepting any submissions after a specific date. And then submission locking, what that means is after a person has submitted their information, you can make it so that they cannot revisit their unique link and see the data anymore. You can make the time frame be immediate. You can make it a week from now, 2 weeks from now. But once they finish the workflow as a client, you can lock down the data so that nobody else can visit that page and get that information. And then we also have some special features such as PIN code locking, which allows a client to set a PIN code so that when they come back into the workflow, they need to enter that PIN code in order to see all the information that's part of that workflow. And then last part here is notification settings. This is just who's going to get an email when a submission is completed. I'm going to hit publish. and you are dropped into the dashboard. So why don't we go ahead and actually go through this workflow that we just created to get a sense of what it looks and feels like. So we're going to click on New Submission. And when you click on New Submission, what Anvil does is it creates a unique link for that specific submission. It's a submission to this workflow that we just created. So first, we're going to say account type, first name, date of birth. Always love this. I'm always like 12 when I fill these out. Social security number. You'll see it's an encrypted field. So this gets masked, and then all the data is actually removed from the front end. Primary phone number. If I don't fill this out completely, you'll notice that it actually asks me to type it again or fix my typo. This is kind of like the validation that we do. Primary phone type, secondary phone, I'm going to skip it because it's optional. I am the fun police, and then my address. So as I type, I'm currently in New York, so it's pulling up locations near me in New York. And then it automatically populates. Now, if I don't check this box, I won't be asked about spousal information. If I do check this box, it asks you all the information about the additional owner. And you'll see that the address got pre-populated in here. I'm going to go back and actually just uncheck the box so I don't have to fill that out. There's a nice little review page. And all I have to do is hit finish and submit. And it generates the PDFs. I can do review and sign. Now you'll notice that it's asking me to log in here. So it's asking me to log in because I use an email address that actually is already associated with an Anvil account. And I think I know what I did wrong. Let me see if I can go back and fix this real quick. Logged me out. So logging back into the dashboard, you can see that there's one submission and it's awaiting signatures. And I actually messed up. I typed useanvil.com instead of .io. So I'm going to fix that. I can do that by first voiding the signature packet. And currently this is what the admin would be able to do. Going into the data, hit edit info. I'm going to change that to .io. Update. And then I can now copy this review link and share it with whoever was filling it out before. So I'm going to just visit that link. I'm going to hit review and sign. You'll see it took my name and turned it into a script. I say accept my signature. And then I'm going to scroll up here so you can see. You'll notice that this form has been filled out completely and accurately. Again, I didn't have a secondary phone number, so I left it blank. Fills in the address information. There was no additional account owner because I skipped that. So all of this is skipped. One email address here. Again, no additional account owner. And then my signature field. Once I click sign, I have an opportunity to download the PDF. And that's it. I just created and demonstrated my first Anvil workflow in a webinar. If I go back to the dashboard here, you'll see now there's a completed workflow for Mang-Git Ng completed a minute ago. And clicking in, you'll see that there's a nice little audit trail of what's happened. I can lock the submission so it's no longer accessible from a public link. I can also click over to file output and download all the files that are associated with this workflow. So the filled out form, as well as a Anvil certificate that has kind of like the log of all of the actions that were taken along the way. Cool. And I know we promised to demonstrate integrations as well. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to Zapier and quickly show you how easy it is to pull in the data. So I'm going to sign up with Google. Now I can create a Zapier's app simply by clicking this. And all I need to do is type Anvil. And now I have the ability to create a Zap that then triggers an action in some other software solution that's integrated with Zapier by simply clicking and setting up one of these Zaps. Great. So heading back over to our slide deck here. Just to recap, I know that was a whirlwind tour. Lots of things happened there. And there was a lot of features that I actually did not demonstrate, including the ability to have multiple PDFs. So we demonstrated with one PDF, but this workflow could fill out any number of PDFs. You could have a separate contract in there, another agreement. And I also didn't demonstrate the ability to set up two web forms for collecting data, maybe one web form for one spouse and another web form that gets sent to the other spouse. But to recap what we did, what we just demonstrated, there is a super intuitive side-by-side editor that allows you to kind of go back and forth between your PDF and your web form and test and see kind of like how this whole system interacts as you're building it. There are powerful workflow settings that makes it really easy for you to keep the data secure, keep your clients protected. No more unencrypted PDFs with all of the private information that a client's providing as an email attachment. This Anvil keeps it locked down and encrypted. And then endless integrations. Again, we have the Zapier integration, but we also have a very robust API ecosystem. If any of you guys follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter, I actually just tweeted a random Slack message I got from a customer that was talking about how excited their engineer was working with our APIs. The really nice thing about how Anvil works is a operations person who understands the paperwork, who understands the paperwork process can come in and build these workflows. And then at a later point in time, when you have an engineer on staff or the engineering team has time, they can deeply integrate it into their existing into your existing software stack. So various tech companies do that with Anvil. They have their ops people build out a workflow, and then they use Anvil's APIs to automatically pull and push data to these workflows in order to kind of trigger them, pre-populate them, take the data and put it into a database, and kind of make sure everything is in sync.